This place was not very popular. More precisely, it was not widely known. The so-called health sanatorium was a small two-story cottage, where a few visitors settled. I learned about the sanatorium from sources popularly called word of mouth. There is no other way. On the shore of the lake, which bears the strange name of Dark, apparently because of the color of its waters, it was impossible to find tours either online or even from tour operators. Banners calling for a visit to the Dark Lake were not hung on city billboards and billboards. Leaflets advertising the miraculous dark waters were not handed out on the street. I learned about the Dark Lake from my great-aunt. It was she who, having learned that her beloved nephew was living out his last days, flew in from the other side of the country to share the secret.
Do you remember, Vanya, that my Philip also had cancer? You remember, don't you?
Aunt Galia rambled in a half-whisper, as if urging me to go rob a bank.
On the advice of an acquaintance, he went to the Dark Lake. That was 5 years ago. As you know, the cancer is gone, and I am not a widow. I can put you in touch with the person who will organize a wellness tour for you.
The tour operator turned out to be a slender, sickly-looking tall man in a ridiculous raincoat and an old-fashioned hat. His hooked nose sniffed, his fingers trembling, and his almost colorless, squinted eyes seemed glassy, completely devoid of emotion. We met in a cafe. I ordered an herbal tea and he ordered a glass of water. I chuckled. It's so hot, and he's wearing a raincoat, like it's autumn outside. But the most interesting thing was the questions he asked me.
Do you like children and animals? What is your position in life? If you are cured, what will you do first?
He didn't ask for any details about my diagnosis. He didn't ask for medical documents, although I brought with me a whole Talmud with my examinations. He wasn't interested in the chronic illnesses I had acquired in my short life. Instead, he wondered why I hadn't married or started a family yet. He drilled into me with his glassy eyes and seemed to be trying to read my mind. Numerous visitors squinted at my strange interlocutor, but he was not interested at all. He didn't seem to be interested in anything at all. He was even more dead than I was, and I was tempted to ask why he didn't use the services of the Dark Lake Health Resort. After a strange interrogation, the tour operator abruptly got up from the table, straightened up to the full length of his skinny body and said,
Well, we'll take you. In 2 days, I will contact you with all the details regarding your departure.
As he walked out, I kept my eyes fixed on his pristine glass of water. He didn't take a sip. Mixed feelings tormented me. On the one hand, it was my chance to survive, to defeat the disease. But on the other hand, for some reason, I felt anxious, that aching feeling of a lump in my chest as it is familiar. But, after all, official medicine turned out to be powerless. I was sent home to die. I was getting worse. I was getting weaker. I was already eating hard. Yes, I was still dragging my swollen legs, but every day it was harder and harder, and I was only 34 years old. I really didn't have time to get married or have children. Maybe then it wouldn't be so scary to die, leaving behind a sequel, or rather, not so bitter. For the first time in my life, I felt sorry for every woman I had an intimate relationship with, but I didn't develop it further. I was only interested in work. Inwardly, I pulled myself together. Decided, I'm going, and come what may, but doubts and fear still grew somewhere deep inside my head. It wasn't until a day later that I realized how I wanted to live. I looked at the passers-by and felt envy gnawing at me. A gaggle of teenagers is passing by. They are laughing, fashionably dressed, young, fresh, bursting with health, and I'm walking past them, already with one foot in the other world. They shun me, instinctively. They feel that I smell of death. They are driven by the instinct of self-preservation, the thirst for life. A mother with a stroller passed by. The baby inside irritated me. He had his whole life ahead of him, and I was living out my last days. Once upon a time, my mother drove me in the same way, and there were many years of life ahead of me. So I was convinced that I wanted to go to the lake. The last seeds of doubt, the last inner fears have fallen away. I hid deep inside my feelings that something was not clean there. The tour operator came in the evening. I didn't even ask him how he found my apartment, but I wasn't interested. I was busily packing my things in preparation for the trip. He walked into the apartment, sucked in air with his elongated, asymmetrical nostrils, and nodded in satisfaction. It even seemed to me that his thin, pale lips quivered, giving me a glimpse of a smile.
Are you ready? At the railway station, buy a ticket to Bertsk, where a taxi will be waiting for you. A red Citroen car with a pattern in the form of flames on the sides. Sit in it, then it's not your worries.
What should I bring? Documents? Examinations? I asked busily.
You don't need anything.
The tour operator replied without emotion. I won't describe how I got there. I can only say that I was afraid. Everything that happened reminded me of the well-worn plot of a crime detective story, where the victim is taken somewhere with transfers to several cars, winding along forest paths, through fields and mountain passes, just to get the full picture. It wasn't enough to blindfold me. This, however, was not necessary, because even if I wanted to, I would not have remembered the way. But there was a clear feeling that at the end of the road I would see something like an underground clinic, where gullible people had their organs harvested or locked up in slavery. Though, who needs the organs of a terminal cancer patient, or slavery? How long will I work? A month at most, and at the end I will lie down. But no, my fears were not confirmed. They took me to a 2-story small log mansion located in the depths of a pine forest. Centuries-old trunks stretched upwards, trying to reach the sun with their spreading paws. Birds chirped. Mountain peaks could be seen in the distance, behind the forest. The beauty is indescribable. I unloaded my bags and looked around. The mansion, as I have already said, was made of logs, built in the style of old country houses, with carved frames on the windows, and the entire second floor had a spacious open balcony on which tables and chairs were placed. A few visitors of the health resort were sitting at the tables and talking quietly. In the yard there were beautiful flower beds with petunias. The paths along the edges were bordered by trimmed shrubs, along the branches of which an elderly gardener thoughtfully wielded garden shears. Overall, it's cozy, I decided. My thoughts were interrupted by a young girl who patted me on the shoulder from behind.
Hello, are you Ivan Vasilievich Fedorov?
She asked loudly, fair-haired, pretty, thin. She was dressed in a light blue suit, like a hospital gown. Hello, are you a nurse? I asked.
Well, something like that.
The girl grunted.
My name is Natalia, and I'll help you. The hostess will meet everyone who came today, tomorrow evening, and I'm going to help you check in and bring you lunch.
Natalia went to take my bags, but I didn't let her. For now, I still have enough strength to pick up 2 travel bags and carry them to the second floor. I was accommodated in a small room, something like a hotel room. The room had a double bed, a table and chairs, a large wardrobe, and access to the balcony. All the furniture was made of solid oak, carved in the old style, and, apparently, far from cheap. I wonder what's next for me. 50,000 rubles for a 3-week course of treatment, and the money must be paid after the course, on the last day before departure, if the treatment helped. Sounds unrealistic. Almost immediately, Natalia brought me lunch: mushroom, stewed potatoes with breaded chicken breast, salad of greens with cabbage and freshly squeezed juice. Not bad, in the best traditions of Soviet sanatoriums. I didn't feel like eating, but overall, I calmed down. It was quite cozy. In the evening, after a short walk in the courtyard, I had already formed my first impression of this place. A small private sanatorium, located in the forest, near the mountain range, at the foot of which the dark lake was formed, positioned itself as a hydropathic facility. The main procedure is bathing in the waters of the dark lake, which, according to the information leaflet, completely renew the cells of the body, rebuild their life cycle and get rid even of diseases considered incurable. Next to it there was a warning leaflet, which urged never, under any circumstances, to violate the rules of bathing and to follow the instructions of the assistants in everything. As I have already mentioned, they gave me a young Natalia as an assistant. I thought this warning was strange, but I once again buried the seeds of doubt deep in my subconscious, and there were doubts. It was all quite strange. Will swimming in the lake save me from the last stage of stomach cancer? The doctors made it clear that I had no chance. Metastases in the lungs, in the liver, which is almost destroyed, as a result of which I had swelling and ascites increased, due to the presence of fluid in the abdominal cavity. My abdomen was already quite protruding, although before the illness I was engaged in sports and my figure was once good. I was getting weaker. And now I'm tired. I grinned. Tame, why is it asked? Do you really believe, Vanya, that you will delay the arrival of the bony one? My head was spinning. Natalia met me at the entrance and helped me get to the room. She laid me down on the bed, helped me take off my t-shirt and trousers, carefully covered me with a blanket and left the room, telling me to conserve my strength.
Don't walk that much yet. You're still weak, but that's okay. The first procedure will make you feel a surge of vigor,
she said confidently. I woke up when it was already dawn, but it wasn't the sun's rays that woke me up. It was a cool hand touching my forehead. I opened my eyes and saw a blonde girl of about 6 standing right next to me, smiling and stroking my face. Her blue eyes squint mischievously, and she continues to stroke me insistently with her hand. Hello, I wheezed, glancing at the massive clock hanging on the wall. 5:20. It's still very early in the morning. Where are you from? Where are your parents? As if in response to me, I heard a loud, frightened woman scream,
Lisa! Lisa! Baby!
Stomping down the hallway, commotion. I struggled to get up in bed. Woman, I shouted, are you looking for a girl? She's here. A disheveled woman in her 30s flew into the room, picked her up in her arms, and looked at me. I woke up to her patting me on the head. I began to justify myself for some reason. I asked where her parents were, but she didn't answer.
She doesn't talk,
the mother explained excitedly. The sleepy visitors, who had become involuntary witnesses of our conversation, made sure that everything was all right, and went to their rooms. Natalia appeared in the hall, but I gestured to make it clear that everything was all right, and she also retreated.
My name is Elena.
The girl's mother smiled.
I brought Liza here so that she could speak. She understands everything, but she doesn't speak. She didn't utter a sound at all after birth, completely mute. I think maybe the lake will help us. And you?
I forced a smile. Today was very difficult. His whole body ached as if 1,000 knives had been stabbed into him. His stomach burned with fire. His weakness grew. I should have told Natalia to anesthetize me. There is also a medical facility here. They must have painkillers. I'm Ivan, I said. I have stage 4 cancer. So, they sent me to die, and I decided to butt heads with the bony one.
That's right.
Yelena nodded.
You're very young. My husband died of cancer. Lisa's dad. She was just a baby when Pasha was gone. And here, I've been told that miracles happen here.
Elena sat down on a chair, without waiting for an answer and releasing her daughter from her embrace.
Look at your uncle's room, Lisa. But you know, it's weird here. Lisa did not like the owner of the sanatorium. Lisa is my very sensitive girl. She senses the catch. And this glow at night? And the lake itself is strange. You've spent the night here already, I take it?
I nodded. Yes, but yesterday I fell asleep while it was still getting dark. I'm already very weak.
Well, try to take a look today. In the evening, the hostess, Adelaide Semyonovna, is talking to those who have just arrived, and you will hear everything yourself.
The day passed quickly. Of course, they gave me a rather strange painkiller. They took me to an office on the ground floor, put me in the bathroom and smeared me with some green mud for half an hour. But, oddly enough, it helped, and I made it to the evening almost without pain. In addition, the day was brightened up for me by Elena, who turned out to be a very nice and kind woman. I even thought that even I, a confirmed bachelor, would marry one. We walked a lot in the woods, talked. Lisa also turned out to be cute. Moreover, due to her peculiarity, She did not crackle incessantly. Like other children, she quietly plucked flowers and wove wreaths for Lena and me, and smiled a disarming smile. I was so indifferent to children, but then even I thawed. And in the evening, in the hall, we, who had arrived the day before, were to meet with the hostess of the hospital. There were 4 of us, 2 men, me and Nikolai, whom I met today, and 2 elderly women, Vera and Zinaida. We sat down on massive oak chairs set in a semicircle and began to whisper boredly about nothing. In a few minutes the double doors swung open, the scent of expensive perfume wafted through the hall, and Adelaide Semyonovna appeared before us, a stately, gray-haired woman, thin, tall, with a pale thoroughbred face. She looked at us silently with her dark brown, almost black eyes, parted her tightly compressed lips, and said in a loud voice,
"Welcome to the Dark Lake Hydropathic Facility. If you're here, you've been robbed of your last hope. You're either nearly dead or terminally ill. But the spirits of the Dark Lake work miracles. They are kind to those who deign to follow their rules and grant them new life."
We looked at each other. Spirits of the lake? This is something new. I wasn't warned about this. Adelaide Semyonovna flashed her black eyes at me.
"Shall we continue? Ivan Vasilyevich, you should not doubt the existence of the subtle worlds. After all, you have 1 foot already there."